In the early hours of Saturday, March 7th, acting on the orders of Moscow Mayor Lushkov, Moscow officials accompanied by heavily armed riot policemen and demolition workers using bulldozers leveled a historic building in Tsaritsino district of Moscow. The building, which was gutted by a mysterious fire in January, was demolished to make way for a parking lot, even though it was home to 6 families. The Moscow authorities referred to the demolition as a day removal operation.
Своими глазами видел Александр Карпов.
Shortly after dawn, the riot squad rushed into a crowd of peaceful protesters, clearing the way for bulldozers to demolish one of the last remaining historic wooden houses in Moscow, known as the Muromtsev Dacha. Moscow's cultural heritage is being destroyed here, said Natalia Samover, the coordinator of the social movement Arknadzor. This is the place where Sergei Muromtsev, the first chairman of the Russian parliament, composed the draft of the Russian constitution, and the place where Ivan Bunin was introduced to his future wife. In the middle of the 20th century, the building was renovated. However, the original atmosphere was preserved. The artist Vasilyev, the sculptor Klikov, and the writer Yerofeev were a few among many other notable residents and visitors to the dacha. A museum was dedicated to the famous people who visited or stayed here in the past. The old residents, the museum creators and keepers, have lived here since the 30s. In the beginning of the 90s, the building was crossed off the city's official maps. When city officials unveiled a plan to build a parking lot on the site, the residents went to court to prevent the action and save the museum. The residents requested the recognition of their right to dwell in the house. However, on the night of January 2nd, before the court session was to make a decision in the case, the house caught fire and was severely damaged. For the residents, it is quite clear that the building was set alight intentionally. They have been living in shelters for the past 2 months. Hundreds of Muscovites helped them break through the ashes, taking out items from the museum. They had hoped to restore the Muromtsev Dacha. However, the city officials insisted that the building had no historical merit and should be demolished. Saturday, March 7th, turned out to be the building's last day. No explanations were given and no documents were provided to the outraged Muscovites. Protesters were tossed out on the streets like ragdolls. Bulldozers started demolishing the building while people were still inside. Riot police were clearly brought in with a purpose. Amidst unreasonable hostility and physical abuse, they stopped journalists from filming the incident. In the wake of the chaos, 2 women, battered and bruised, were rushed to the hospital, while 10 other peaceful protesters were detained without reason.